The young millionaire fell in love with a humble man, but when her family found out, they falsely accused him of theft to tear them apart. The shrill sound of the cell phone cut through the silence of the luxurious room. Olivia Hartley opened her eyes reluctantly, reaching out to silence the alarm. She sighed deeply, feeling the weight of the expectations she carried on her shoulders. At 25, heiress to a tech empire worth billions of dollars, Olivia was far from an ordinary young woman. She got up from the king-size bed and walked over to the panoramic window of her penthouse apartment. The view of San Francisco was breathtaking, with the rising sun casting a golden glow over the bay. However, the beauty of the landscape couldn't calm the restlessness in his heart. Another day, another tedious meeting, she muttered to herself, heading for the closet the size of a normal bedroom. She chose an elegant gray suit and high heels, her armor for facing the corporate world. As she dressed, Olivia reflected on her life. She had everything money could buy, but she felt an emptiness that no bank account could fill. Her parents, always busy expanding the family business, barely had time for her. Friends. It was hard to know who really cared about Olivia, the person, and not Olivia, the Hartley heiress. She walked down to the building's garage, ignoring the admiring gaze of the doorman. Her silver Audi R8 was waiting, purring softly as she started it up. The streets of San Francisco were still relatively quiet at that time of the morning, allowing Olivia to quickly reach Hartley Tech's headquarters. The huge glass and steel building dominated the skyline, a monument to success and innovation. Olivia parked in the reserved space and entered the private elevator, feeling her stomach contract as she ascended to the top floor. "Good morning, Miss Hartley," greeted her assistant, Sophia, as soon as the elevator doors opened. "The board meeting starts in 15 minutes. Your father is already in the conference room." Olivia nodded, taking the folder Sophia held out to her. "Thanks, Sophia. Any other news?" "Actually, yes. Mr. Hartley asked me to remind you about the charity dinner tonight. He insists that your presence is essential." Olivia suppressed a sigh. Yet another event where she would have to smile and feign interest in the superficial conversations of high society. "Of course, I'll be there. Thanks for the reminder." The meeting went on as usual, her father, Richard Hartley, dominating the discussion, while the board members agreed with every word. Olivia watched, taking occasional notes, feeling more like a spectator than an active participant. After 3 exhausting hours, Olivia finally found herself free. She decided to use the rest of the afternoon to visit one of her favorite projects, a community center in the Mission District, which the Hartley Foundation was helping to fund. When she arrived, Olivia felt the weight on her shoulders ease a little. There, far from the skyscrapers and meeting rooms, she felt closer to making the real difference she had always dreamed of. "Hello, Mrs. Rodriguez," greeted the center's coordinator. "How are things here?" The middle-aged lady smiled warmly. "Ah, Miss Hartley, how nice to see you. We're having a few challenges, to be honest. The roof is leaking and we urgently need more volunteers for the adult literacy program." Olivia frowned, concerned. "I'll see what I can do about the roof. As for volunteers, perhaps we could do a recruitment drive." As they discussed ideas, Olivia noticed a movement out of the corner of her eye. A tall young man with messy dark hair was carrying a pile of books. He tripped, and the books scattered across the floor. Without thinking twice, Olivia rushed over to help. She knelt down and began to pick up the books. "Let me help you," she said, raising her eyes. It was then that their gazes met. The young man had deep blue eyes, gentle and expressive. For a moment, Olivia felt as if the world had stopped. "Thank you," he said, with a shy smile. "I'm a walking disaster sometimes." Olivia laughed softly. "It happens to all of us. I'm Olivia, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Olivia. I'm Noah Bennett. I volunteer here on Tuesdays and Thursdays." As they stood up, books stacked again, Olivia felt a strange sense of comfort in Noah's presence. It was something she hadn't experienced for a long time, the feeling of being seen as herself, not as the Hartley heiress. Would you like some coffee?" Noah asked hesitantly. "I mean, if you're not busy, there's a lovely coffee shop just around the corner." Olivia glanced at her watch, remembering the charity dinner. For a moment, she considered refusing, but something in the sincerity of Noah's smile made her change her mind. "You know what? I'd love to," she replied, surprising herself. As they left the community center together, Olivia felt a light breeze caress her face. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to smile genuinely. Little did she know that this chance encounter was about to change the course of her life forever. The aroma of freshly ground coffee filled the air of the small coffee shop on the corner. Olivia watched Noah over the rim of her cappuccino cup, fascinated by the nonchalant way he gestured as he talked about his volunteer work at the community center. "So, I decided I wanted to make a difference, you know?" Noah explained, his blue eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "After college, instead of looking for a corporate job, I started working part-time as a substitute teacher and dedicate the rest of my time to volunteering." Olivia tilted her head, intrigued. "That's impressive. It must be rewarding." Noah shrugged, a shy smile playing on his lips. "It has its challenges, but it's worth it." "What about you, Olivia? What brings you to the community center?" For a moment, Olivia hesitated. It was tempting to remain anonymous, to be just another person interested in helping. But something in Noah's sincerity pushed her to be honest. "Actually, I'm part of the Hartley family. My family founded Hartley Tech and—" Noah's eyes widened in recognition. "Wait, you're that Olivia Hartley? Wow, I had no idea." Olivia felt her heart squeeze. It was always like this. The moment people found out who she was and everything changed. However, to her surprise, Noah quickly recovered from his initial shock. "Well, that explains why you seemed so at ease talking about fundraising strategies with Ms. Rodriguez," he joked, trying to ease the tension. Olivia couldn't help but laugh. "Yeah, years of charity dinners have their benefits, I suppose." The conversation flowed naturally after that. Noah told us about his childhood in a small town in rural California, about his parents, a mechanic and a nurse, and how he decided to move to San Francisco in search of new opportunities. Olivia, for her part, shared stories about growing up in the spotlight, the pressure of being the Hartley heiress and her desire to do something meaningful with her privileged position. The hours passed unnoticed, and when Olivia finally looked at her watch, she let out an exclamation of surprise. "Oh my God, it's almost 7 p.m. I have a charity dinner in—" She checked her watch again. "Less than an hour." Noah looked disappointed, but understanding. "Of course, I didn't want to take up so much of your time. It was nice to meet you, Olivia." As they stood up, Olivia felt a twinge of reluctance. She didn't want that moment to end. "Noah, I'd really like to continue our conversation. Perhaps we could meet again?" Noah's face lit up with a smile. "I'd love to. How about Saturday? I can show you some of the projects we're developing at the center." They exchanged phone numbers, and Olivia left the cafeteria feeling strangely light. As she hurried to get ready for the charity dinner, her thoughts kept returning to Noah and their relaxed conversation. The ballroom at the Fairmont San Francisco looked stunning, decorated with elaborate floral arrangements and crystal chandeliers. Olivia, now impeccably dressed in a navy blue gala dress, circulated among the guests, exchanging smiles and handshakes. "Olivia, darling." Her mother, Victoria Hartley's voice sounded behind her. "Where have you been? Your father was looking for you earlier." Olivia turned around, facing her mother's inquisitive gaze. Victoria, in her mid-50s, was the picture of sophistication in her Chanel dress. "I'm sorry, Mom. I was at the community center and lost track of time." Victoria frowned slightly. "Olivia, I understand your interest in these charity projects, but you need to remember your responsibilities to the company and your family." Before Olivia could reply, her father, Richard Hartley, joined them. Tall and imposing in his tuxedo, he emanated an aura of authority. "Ah, there you are," he said, his tone a mixture of relief and mild irritation. "Come on, there are some people I want you to meet." The next few hours were a blur of introductions, superficial conversations, and forced smiles. Olivia found herself thinking repeatedly about her afternoon with Noah, longing for the simplicity and authenticity of those moments. While distractedly listening to an investor talk about the latest market trends, her phone vibrated in her pocket. Discreetly, she picked it up and saw a message from Noah. "It was great to meet you today. Can't wait for Saturday. I hope your charity dinner isn't too boring." A genuine smile lit up Olivia's face for the first time that evening. "Something funny, dear?" asked her father, noticing her expression. Olivia quickly put the phone away. "No, nothing. Just remembering something." Richard nodded distractedly before turning his attention back to the investor. Olivia, however, felt as if a small flame had been lit inside her. As the evening progressed, Olivia found herself increasingly distracted, her thoughts oscillating between two worlds, the oppressive glamour of the ballroom and the welcoming simplicity of the small cafe. Two worlds that, until that day, had seemed irreconcilable. Later, back in her apartment, Olivia allowed herself a moment of reflection. Looking out of the window at the twinkling lights of the city, she wondered what the future held. One thing was certain. Her encounter with Noah had awakened something inside her, a desire for change, for authenticity. With a sigh, she picked up her phone and reread Noah's message. After a moment's hesitation, she typed a reply, "I loved meeting you too. Dinner was, well, as expected, but thinking about Saturday made it all the more bearable. See you then." Sending the message, Olivia felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She knew she was on the brink of something new, something potentially life-changing. What she didn't know was how deeply this new chapter in her life would affect not only her, but everyone around her. With that thought, she got ready for bed, looking forward to what Saturday would bring. Saturday dawned with a soft mist covering San Francisco, enveloping the city in an ethereal embrace. Olivia woke up early, a mixture of anxiety and anticipation bubbling in her chest. She spent more time than usual choosing her outfit, opting for a casual chic look, slim jeans, a cream silk blouse, and comfortable sneakers. At 10 a.m. sharp, Olivia parked her Audi discreetly a block away from the community center. She hesitated for a moment before getting out of the car, her heart racing slightly at the sight of Noah waiting at the entrance. "Good morning," Noah greeted her with a warm smile. "Ready for an immersion in the world of community service?" Olivia nodded, returning the smile. "More than ready. Where do we start?" The next few hours were a revelation for Olivia. Noah guided her through the center's various programs, literacy classes for adults, art workshops for children, a small food bank, and even a co-working space for local entrepreneurs. What impressed Olivia most was not just the programs themselves, but the passion and dedication of Noah and the other volunteers. She found herself completely involved, helping to organize books in the community library, and even taking part in a painting class for children. "You have a way with children," Noah commented, watching Olivia help a little girl of about 6 with her drawing. Olivia blushed slightly. "Thanks. I always wanted younger siblings, you know. Growing up as an only child can be lonely sometimes." Noah nodded understandingly. "I can imagine, especially with the added pressure of being a Hartley." For a moment, Olivia's smile faltered. "Yeah, sometimes I feel like people only see the surname, not the person behind it." Noah moved closer, gently placing his hand on Olivia's shoulder. "Hey, for what it's worth, I see you. Olivia, not Hartley." The look they exchanged was charged with emotion, a silent connection that made Olivia's heart skip a beat. The moment was interrupted by the sound of a notification on Olivia's cell phone. She picked it up, frowning as she saw a message from her father. "Emergency meeting at the office. Your presence is required. Now." Olivia sighed, the reality of her responsibilities weighing heavily on her. "Sorry, Noah. I have to go. Family emergency." Noah sounded disappointed, but understanding. "Of course, I understand. But can we see each other again soon?" "I'd love to," Olivia replied, surprised by the sincerity in her own voice. As she made her way to the office, Olivia couldn't help thinking about how the morning with Noah had made her feel more alive and fulfilled than any business meeting. The Hartley Tech office was abuzz when Olivia arrived. She was immediately ushered into the main conference room, where her father, Richard, and other senior executives were gathered, faces tense with worry. "Ah, Olivia, finally," Richard said, barely disguising his irritation. "We have a delicate situation on our hands." Over the next few minutes, Olivia had been informed about a potential data breach in one of the company's flagship products. The news had not yet reached the media, but it was only a matter of time. "We need an immediate containment strategy," one of the executives argued. "Maybe minimize the extent of the problem?" Olivia felt a knot in her stomach. "You mean lie?" Richard gave his daughter a warning look. "Olivia, sometimes it's necessary to manage the truth in order to protect the company's interests." The room fell silent, all eyes on Olivia. She felt the weight of expectations, the legacy of the Hartley family weighing on her shoulders. But then, for a brief moment, she remembered the morning at the community center, the honesty and integrity she saw in the eyes of Noah and the volunteers. With a deep sigh, Olivia stood up. "No, we can't do that. Our clients trust us to protect their data. If we break that trust, we will be lost." The room erupted in murmurs of protest, but Olivia continued, "I propose that we be completely transparent. Let's admit the mistake, detail the measures we're taking to correct it, and implement a compensation program for the customers affected." Richard looked at his daughter with a mixture of surprise and, "It's a risky approach, Olivia." "Yes," she agreed, "but it's the right thing to do." After hours of heated debate, Olivia's proposal was accepted, albeit reluctantly by some executives. When the meeting finally ended, it was after 9 p.m. Exhausted, but strangely refreshed, Olivia picked up her phone and saw several messages from Noah, asking if everything was all right. With a smile, she typed a reply, "Crazy day, but I did the right thing. Would you like to have coffee tomorrow and tell you everything?" Noah's reply came almost instantly. "I'd love to. Same place, 10 a.m. "Perfect," Olivia replied, feeling a wave of warmth spread through her chest. As she drove home, Olivia reflected on the day's events. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly proud of herself and the Hartley name. But more than that, she felt eager to share this moment with someone who seemed to see beyond the name, someone who saw only Olivia. What she didn't know was that her bold decision at the office and her growing closeness to Noah were about to trigger a series of events that would test not only her integrity, but also her heart. Arriving home, Olivia allowed herself a moment of quiet. Standing in front of her apartment window, watching the city lights, she felt that she was on the verge of something big, something that could change her life forever. With a soft smile on her lips, she got ready for bed, looking forward to what tomorrow would bring. Sunday morning dawned bright and clear in San Francisco, as if it reflected Olivia's state of mind. She arrived at the coffee shop a few minutes before 10 a.m., her heart racing as she saw Noah already sitting at a table in the corner, 2 steaming coffees in front of him. "Hey," she said softly, approaching him. Noah looked up, his face lighting up with a warm smile. "Hey, you. I thought I'd order your coffee. I hope you still like cappuccino." Olivia felt a wave of warmth spread through her chest. It was a simple gesture, but meaningful. "Perfect, thank you." They spent the first few minutes in light conversation, until Noah tilted his head, his blue eyes fixed on her with genuine concern. "So, what happened yesterday? It seemed serious." Olivia hesitated for a moment, pondering how much she could share, but something in Noah's open, trusting expression encouraged her. "There was a crisis at the company," she began, choosing her words carefully. "A data breach that affected thousands of customers." Noah nodded, his face serious. "That sounds serious. How did you deal with it?" Olivia then told him about the meeting, the pressure to cover up the incident, and her decision to stand up for transparency. "Wow," Noah breathed, clearly impressed. "That must have taken a lot of courage." Olivia smiled shyly. "Actually, it was you who inspired me. Well, you and all the work at the community center. You made me realize the importance of integrity, of doing the right thing even when it's difficult." The look Noah gave her made her heart leap. It was a mixture of admiration, pride, and something else, something deeper that she didn't dare name yet. Olivia, this is incredible. You're making a difference in a way that few can. Their hands met on the table, a soft, electric touch. For a moment, the world around them seemed to disappear. The moment was broken by the shrill sound of Olivia's cell phone. She picked it up, frowning as she saw her father's name on the screen. "Sorry, I have to take this," she said to Noah, stepping back a little. "Olivia?" Richard's voice sounded tense on the other end of the line. "We need to talk. Come home now." Before she could reply, the call was disconnected. Olivia looked at the phone, a feeling of apprehension settling in her stomach. "Is everything all right?" Noah asked, noticing her worried expression. Olivia forced a smile. "Yeah, just family matters. Sorry, I have to go." Noah nodded understandingly. "Of course, I understand. But, Olivia—" She stopped, already on her feet. "I'm proud of you," he said softly, "for doing the right thing." Her heart racing, Olivia leaned over and, on an impulse, kissed Noah's cheek. "Thank you," she whispered, before hurrying off. The drive to the Hartleys' mansion seemed longer than ever. When Olivia finally arrived, she found her parents in the living room. The tension in the air was palpable. "Sit down, Olivia," Richard said, his voice controlled but with a clear note of disapproval. Victoria, sitting rigidly next to her husband, looked equally perturbed. "What's going on?" Olivia asked, although she already suspected the answer. Richard slid a folder across the coffee table. Olivia opened it, her stomach turning as she saw the photos. Her and Noah at the community center, at the coffee shop, walking down the street together. "Who is he?" Victoria asked, her voice cold. Olivia felt a surge of indignation. "Did you follow me?" "We have to protect the family's interests, Olivia," Richard replied, as if that justified everything. "That boy, he's not suitable for someone in your position." "Suitable?" Olivia repeated, incredulous. "You don't even know him." "We know enough," Victoria interjected. "A substitute teacher with no career prospects, living off voluntary work. Olivia, you have responsibilities, a legacy to honor." Olivia stood up, shaking with anger. "Noah is one of the most genuine and compassionate people I've ever met. He inspires me to be better, to really make a difference." Richard sighed, his expression softening a little. "Daughter, we understand that you want to do good, but there are more appropriate ways of doing it, ways that don't jeopardize your future or that of the company." "Like what?" Olivia challenged. "Shallow charity dinners where no one really cares about the cause." Victoria stood up, her face a mask of determination. "Enough, Olivia. You're going to end this relationship, whatever it is, immediately, and you will concentrate on your responsibilities at the company." Olivia felt tears of frustration sting her eyes. "You can't control my life like this." "We can and we will," Richard declared firmly, "until you show enough maturity to understand your position." With one last look of defiance, Olivia stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. She ran to her old room, locking herself in. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Olivia looked at her phone. There was a message from Noah. "Thanks for sharing with me today. You're amazing. You know that." With a heavy heart, Olivia typed a reply. "Noah, we need to talk. Can we meet tomorrow?" The reply came almost immediately. "Sure. Is everything all right?" Olivia hesitated, her mind in turmoil. She knew she should obey her parents, cut ties with Noah and return to the safe, predictable path they had laid out for her. But something inside her rebelled against this idea. Finally, she answered, "Yes. There's just a lot I need to tell you." Lying down on the bed, Olivia stared at the ceiling, her heart torn between her duty to her family and her growing feelings for Noah. She knew that the decision she made would change the course of her life forever. As night fell over San Francisco, Olivia lay awake, pondering her future, her heart in conflict with the expectations that had always defined her. Tomorrow, she knew, would be a day of hard truths and even harder choices. The morning arrived gray and cloudy, reflecting the whirlwind of emotions Olivia felt. She had barely slept, spending the night tossing and turning in bed, her mind a battlefield between duty and desire. At 9 a.m., Olivia was sitting on a bench in Golden Gate Park, the place she and Noah had arranged to meet. Her hands trembled slightly as she waited, mentally rehearsing what she would say. "Hi." Noah's soft voice brought her out of her thoughts. He sat down next to her, his face a mixture of concern and affection. "Are you all right? You look tense." Olivia took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "Noah, there's something I need to tell you." Over the next few minutes, she got everything off her chest: the meeting with her parents, the photos, the pressure to end whatever was happening between them. Noah listened in silence, his face becoming more and more serious. "So, that's it?" he asked when she had finished, his voice low. "Are you going to do what they want?" Olivia felt tears forming in her eyes. "I don't know, Noah. My family, the company, it's all so complicated." Noah turned to face her directly, his blue eyes intense. "Olivia, we've only known each other for a short time, but what I feel for you is real, and I think you feel the same way." He took her hands in his. "But I can't ask you to choose between me and your family. That decision has to be yours." Olivia looked down at their intertwined hands, feeling the warmth and security that Noah provided. At that moment, something inside her solidified. "You're right," she said softly. "It's my decision, and I choose us." Noah's face lit up with a radiant smile, and before Olivia could say anything else, he pulled her into a passionate kiss. It was as if the world around them disappeared, leaving only the two of them and the promise of a future together. When they finally broke apart, both panting and smiling, Olivia felt a mixture of elation and fear. "It's not going to be easy," she warned. Noah nodded, his expression determined. "I know, but we'll be in this together." The rest of the morning passed like a dream. They walked through the park hand in hand, making plans and sharing hopes for the future. Olivia felt lighter and freer than she had ever felt before. However, reality was soon to set in. When Olivia arrived at Hartley Tech's headquarters that afternoon, she was immediately called into her father's office. Richard Hartley was sitting behind his imposing desk, his face a mask of disappointment. "So, you've decided to defy our wishes," he said, his voice cold. Olivia lifted her chin, determined not to be intimidated. "I've decided to follow my heart, Dad, and to do what I believe is right." Richard sighed heavily. "Olivia, you don't understand the ramifications of your actions. This boy, he doesn't belong in our world." "Maybe that's exactly what I need," Olivia retorted. "Someone to make me see beyond this limited world you've created for me." Richard's face hardened. "Very well. If that's the way you want it, then you'll have to face the consequences of your choice." He slid a document across the table. Olivia picked it up, her eyes widening as she read the contents. "You're removing me from the company?" she asked incredulously. Richard nodded gravely. "Until you come to your senses, yes. Your financial privileges will also be suspended." Olivia felt as if she had been punched in the stomach. Her whole life, her identity, was tied to Hartley Tech. And now— "Dad, please," she begged, her voice trembling. "Don't do this." "It was your choice, Olivia," Richard replied, his voice firm, but with a note of sadness. "When you're ready to accept your responsibilities, we'll be here." Stunned, Olivia left her father's office. She wandered through the corridors of the company, feeling strangely out of place. Employees greeted her, oblivious to the drama unfolding. Finally, arriving at the garage, Olivia got into her car and let the tears fall. She picked up the phone, her fingers hovering over Noah's name. For a brief moment, she considered going back, begging her parents for forgiveness, resuming her comfortable life. But then she remembered the look in Noah's eyes, the sense of purpose she felt at his side. With renewed determination, she typed a message. "Things have gotten complicated. Can we talk?" The reply came almost immediately. "Of course. I'm here for you. Where can we meet?" Olivia smiled through her tears. at the community center. I think I need to remember what really matters. As she drove through the streets of San Francisco, Olivia felt a mixture of fear and excitement. She had chosen an uncertain path, leaving behind everything she knew. But for the first time in her life, she felt she was truly doing something for herself. When she arrived at the community center, she saw Noah waiting at the entrance, his face full of concern and love. At that moment, Olivia knew that, no matter what lay ahead, she had made the right choice. With determined steps, she walked towards Noah and the uncertain but full of possibilities future that awaited them. The weeks that followed Olivia's decision were a roller coaster of emotions and challenges. The comforts of her previous life disappeared almost overnight. Her luxurious apartment, her high-end car, even her closet full of designer clothes, all that was left behind. Noah, true to his word, was by her side every step of the way. He offered Olivia a room in his modest shared apartment, a drastic change for someone used to penthouses overlooking the bay. "It's small, I know," Noah said hesitantly, as he showed Olivia the cramped room that would be hers. "But it's temporary, until we find something better." Olivia looked around, absorbing the details of the compact space: a single bed, a worn desk, and a small closet. It was smaller than her old closet, but strangely, it didn't feel oppressive. On the contrary, there was a feeling of freedom in the air. "It's perfect," she replied, surprising herself with the sincerity in her voice. The next few days were a lesson in humility and self-discovery for Olivia. For the first time in her life, she had to deal with mundane issues such as shopping on a limited budget, cooking her own meals, and using public transport. "I never thought riding the bus could be so interesting," Olivia commented one evening, after a particularly chaotic day in the city center. Noah laughed, putting his arm around her. "Welcome to the real world, Ms. Hartley." Despite the challenges, Olivia was surprised to realize that she was happy. There was a satisfaction in earning things on her own merits, in building a life with her own hands. And having Noah by her side made it all the sweeter. However, it wasn't all flowers. News of the rebellious Hartley heiress spread quickly through San Francisco's high society. Former friends shunned her in public, and the tabloids never missed an opportunity to speculate about her fall from grace. One afternoon, while walking hand in hand with Noah through the park, Olivia noticed the stares and whispers of a group of women she recognized from her old social circle. "Ignore them," Noah muttered, squeezing her hand. Olivia nodded, but couldn't help the twinge of pain. It was one thing to choose to leave that life behind, but quite another to be actively rejected by it. Things came to a head when a few weeks after leaving Hartley Tech, Olivia received an unexpected call from her mother, Victoria. "Olivia!" Victoria's voice sounded tense on the other end of the line. "We need to talk. Come home for dinner tonight." Olivia's heart raced. Could this be the reconciliation she'd secretly been hoping for? "Of course, Mom. I'll be there." That evening, Olivia found herself once again in front of the imposing Hartley mansion. Taking a deep breath, she rang the doorbell. Dinner was a surreal experience. Victoria and Richard acted as if the last few weeks hadn't happened, asking casual questions about Olivia's work at the community center. It was only when dessert was served that Richard finally approached the elephant in the room. "Olivia," he began, his tone serious, "your mother and I have been observing your current situation, and we've decided that it's time for you to come home." Olivia felt her heart sink. "Dad, Let me finish," Richard interrupted her. "We're willing to forget this whole episode. Your position in the company will be restored, including a promotion. All we ask is that you end this inappropriate relationship and resume your responsibilities." Victoria leaned over, taking Olivia's hand. "Darling, we know you want to make a difference in the world, but there are better, more appropriate ways to do that. Think of all the good you can do with the Hartley Foundation's resources." Olivia looked at her parents, feeling a wave of conflicting emotions. Part of her longed for the security and comfort of her old life. It would be so easy to say yes, to return to the world she knew so well. But then she remembered the last few months. of the laughs shared with Noah in their small apartment, the children at the community center whose faces lit up when she arrived for reading lessons, the feeling of accomplishment at the end of a long day of volunteer work. With a deep sigh, Olivia stood up. "Mom, Dad, I appreciate the offer, I really do, but I can't accept," Richard frowned. "Olivia, be reasonable." "I am reasonable, Dad," she replied, her voice firm. "For the first time in my life, I'm doing something that really matters, something that makes me happy. I can't give that up." Victoria shook her head, tears in her eyes. "You're throwing your life away, Olivia, for a substitute teacher and some needy kids." Olivia felt a twinge of pain when she heard the contempt in her mother's voice, but her resolve remained unshaken. "No, Mom. I'm building a life that means something to me. And as for Noah, he makes me want to be a better person every day. That's worth more than any bank account or title." With those words, Olivia headed for the door. Before leaving, she turned one last time to her parents. "I love you, and I hope that one day you can understand and accept my choices." As she walked down the long driveway of the mansion, Olivia felt a weight being lifted off her shoulders. She picked up her phone and typed a message to Noah. "It's finished. Can we meet?" The reply came almost immediately. "Sure. I'm at the pier. Come here." Half an hour later, Olivia found Noah sitting on the edge of the pier, his feet dangling over the water. She sat down next to him, leaning her head on his shoulder. "How was it?" Noah asked softly. Olivia sighed. "Difficult, but liberating." Noah hugged her, and together they watched the sun set over San Francisco Bay. The future was still uncertain, full of challenges, but at that moment, with the man she loved by her side and the certainty that she was following her own path, Olivia knew she could face anything. "You know," she said after a long silence, "I think I finally understand what it means to be truly rich." Noah smiled, kissing the top of her head. "And what would that be?" Olivia looked at him, her eyes shining with a mixture of love and determination. "Having the courage to follow your heart, no matter the cost." As the sky darkened and the first stars appeared, Olivia and Noah stood there, two hearts united against the world, ready to face any challenge the future might bring. A year has passed since the night Olivia rejected her parents' offer and chose a life alongside Noah. Time has brought changes, challenges, and, above all, growth. Olivia woke up to the first rays of sunlight coming through the window of the small apartment she now shared with Noah. She smiled as she felt his arm around her waist, the comforting warmth of his presence a constant in her new life. "Morning, sleepyhead," Noah murmured, his voice still hoarse from sleep. Olivia turned to face him, her heart filling with love at the sight of those blue eyes that never failed to make her feel at home. "Good morning," she replied, placing a soft kiss on his lips. As they prepared for another day, Olivia reflected on how much their lives had changed. Over the last few months, she had dedicated herself entirely to the community center, transforming it with her vision and determination. Her business skills, once used to increase Hartley Tech's profits, were now directed towards raising funds, establishing partnerships, and expanding the center's programs. Noah, inspired by Olivia's enthusiasm, had quit his job as a substitute teacher to devote himself full-time to the center, coordinating the educational programs. Together, they formed an unbeatable team, bringing hope and opportunity to hundreds of people in the community. "Ready for the big day?" Noah asked as they sipped coffee. Olivia nodded, a mixture of nervousness and excitement in her voice. "I can hardly believe we've come this far." The big day they were referring to was the inauguration of the community center's new building. After months of planning, fundraising, and hard work, they had managed to buy and renovate a larger building, allowing them to significantly expand their services. When they arrived at the center, they were greeted by a lively crowd. Volunteers, beneficiaries of the programs, and local supporters all gathered to celebrate this monumental achievement. Olivia took to the small makeshift stage, Noah by her side, to give the opening speech. Looking out over the crowd, she saw familiar faces: Mrs. Rodriguez, now a senior program director. Children she had helped to literate, now reading with confidence. Adults who, thanks to the vocational training programs, had landed stable jobs. A year ago, Olivia began, her voice clear and emotional. I thought I knew what it meant to make a difference. I thought it was enough to sign checks and attend charity events. But you all taught me the true meaning of community, of compassion, of real change. She paused, seeking Noah's hand for strength. This new building is not just a building. It's a symbol of hope, of possibilities. It's proof that when we come together, we can accomplish extraordinary things. As Olivia continued her speech, she couldn't help but notice two familiar faces at the back of the crowd. Her heart leapt as she recognized her parents, Richard and Victoria Hartley, discreetly observing the ceremony. Concluding their speech, Olivia and Noah cut the ribbon, officially inaugurating the newly expanded community center. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, the energy of hope and celebration palpable in the air. As people began to enter the building for a tour, Olivia made her way towards her parents. Noah, realizing the situation, squeezed her hand in support before stepping aside to give them privacy. "Mom, Dad," Olivia said softly as she approached, "I didn't expect to see you here." Richard snorted, looking a little uncomfortable. "Well, we thought we should see for ourselves what you've been up to." Victoria stepped forward, her eyes glistening with what looked like restrained tears. "Olivia, darling, we were wrong." Olivia felt her heart racing. "What do you mean?" Richard sighed deeply. "We saw the news about the work you've been doing here, the impact you're having, and we realized that perhaps we've been too rigid in our expectations." "What your father is trying to say," Victoria interjected, "is that we're proud of you, Olivia. Really proud." Olivia felt tears forming in her eyes. After a year of silence and estrangement, hearing these words from her parents was more than she could have hoped for. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice laced with emotion. "It means a lot to me to hear that." Richard looked around, observing the excitement and positive energy emanating from the place. "You've built something remarkable here, daughter, something that goes beyond profits and shares. You're changing lives." Victoria took Olivia's hands in hers. "And we'd like to help, if you'll let us. The Hartley Foundation could provide additional resources, expand the center's reach even further." Olivia was momentarily speechless, overwhelmed by the offer and what it represented. Not just financial support, but a bridge being rebuilt between her and her family. I'd love that," she finally managed to say. "But on one condition." Her parents looked at her expectantly. "That you get to know Noah properly. Give him a chance." "Us." Richard and Victoria exchanged a look before nodding. "I think we can do that," Richard said, a small smile forming on his lips. At that moment, Noah approached, clearly curious about what was going on. Olivia reached out to him, pulling him close. "Mom, Dad, this is Noah, the man who inspired me to be the best version of myself." Noah greeted the Hartleys with a warm smile, his posture relaxed and confident. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you properly, Mr. and Mrs. Hartley." To Olivia's surprise, her father extended his hand to Noah. "The pleasure is ours, Noah. It seems we owe you a thank you for taking such good care of our daughter." As the four of them talked, Olivia felt a wave of gratitude and happiness wash over her. Looking around, she saw the new community center pulsing with life and possibilities. She saw the man she loved interacting lovingly with her parents. She saw a bright future unfolding in front of her. Later that evening, after the celebration had ended and the last guest had left, Olivia and Noah stood alone on the terrace of the new building, watching the city lights. "So," Noah said, hugging her from behind, "how are you feeling, Miss Life Changer?" Olivia laughed, leaning against him. "Happy, accomplished, grateful." She turned in his arms to face him. "And completely, irrevocably in love with you." Noah smiled, that smile that still made her heart skip a beat. "What a coincidence. I feel exactly the same way." As they kissed under the starry San Francisco sky, Olivia reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From the luxurious salons of high society to the bustling streets of the community, she had found her true purpose. And in the process, she had discovered a love that transcended social class and expectations. The future would still bring challenges, she knew. There would be difficult days, obstacles to overcome. But with Noah by her side and the strength she had discovered within herself, Olivia knew she could face anything. As the night wore on, Olivia and Noah stood there, two souls united by love and purpose, ready to write the next chapter of their lives, together.
Did this narrative stir your emotions? Don't forget to express your approval with a like. Take advantage of the Super Thanks feature, available just below the video, to offer direct support to the channel and contribute to the production of more fascinating content. Subscribe and remember to activate the bell to stay up to date with all the latest updates. And attention, a new exciting story is already ready to be displayed on your screen. Your participation means a lot to me, and I hope to count on your presence soon. Thank you very much for dedicating your time to this video.